What's up, everybody? How y'all doing today? I'm really excited. We're back at it again with the white vans. Welcome to the B&E After Dark. Armani Graham from episode, oh my God, if I can remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Episode 6. And we got some pretty aggressive topics today, so I'm really excited to jump into it. If anyone doesn't know, the After Dark edition is where we can get really into the weeds. We get to jump into the madness of it all, get to really understand more about, current topics of what's going on, unfiltered, unhinged.
We're going to say what you're thinking, what you're scared to say. That's what we're going to talk about.
We got a few topics today. We're going to be diving into, I'm not in any specific order, right? But we're going to be diving into the election. Essentially the midterms that just came through, but obviously Trump, he just announced. That's a crazy topic to jump into. We're going to top it to some homosexuality. That's going to be really big. He talked a little bit about that during the speech. Sex and body count, rap in the black community. We actually a lot of black community topics, voting. We have some interesting perspectives we want to jump into. So get excited, get into it. And, obviously, this is live, so chime in. And please feel free to ask some questions. We got Sarah at the battle station, songs on the battle station, so she'll be able to get you through. So awesome, let's do it. What's up, Mr. Armani Graham?
What's up, man?
All right, man. How's your week been? It's been we had to skip last week, but how's it been in the last 2 weeks?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
I've been seeing you, man. You dude. I love your stuff.
I've been trying to drop content, bro. I've been trying to drop.
No, you've been putting in work. It was fun. I love the way. I don't know who's the gentleman who's been rocking with you most recently.
My little homie, Eric.
Yeah.
So I call my little big homie.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
Because especially with the one where you guys were standing in the doorstep.
Exactly.
And he was like,
bro, that was so funny.
That was good.
That was
so lit. I was like, I love it. So shout outs to Eric, man. It's always cool to see people support each other's craft, man.
Definitely.
Yeah. So let's get into it then. So what do you want to start with first, man? We have a few things we wanted to get into. I know abortion was a huge thing we didn't get to get into last time. So you want to jump into abortion? That first?
Because we left out on that last time. We didn't get a chance to get into it. So let's talk about that. Let's
go. So I'll tell you my position.
Let's go.
All right, run it. So I'm pro-choice. Okay. I lean in the 20 weeks. I'm in the 20-24 weeks. A lot of my positions come from a gentleman called Destiny. Okay. I kind of really understand his perspective from it.
Got it.
And so I'll just kind of leave it at that in a sense, right?
Okay.
Where do you lean?
So I'm pro-life.
Okay. Ooh,
I know, right? Everybody's like, oh, pro-life? The cutoff is? Yeah. All right. So
Sarah went with the black and white theme. I love it. Yo, deadass, that's so cool. We're on the moon, guys.
That looks nice.
That is deadass cream.
I like it. I'm pro-life because I think, obviously I'm a believer, and it doesn't matter how I feel. I need to try to follow the Bible as much as I can, and God is pro-life. But I also want to say this because I feel like a lot of Christians don't talk about this. I'm pro-life, and I'm against abortion, right? But it's a very sensitive topic, and I feel for a woman who was raped by somebody.
Okay.
And that's not talked about enough.
Huge.
So I'm pro-life, right? But I'm even more empathetic towards that situation and that woman.
So you're essentially saying that I'm pro-life, but
I don't like how the woman is forgotten and not talked about.
So
that's what I'm saying. So people who are pro-life just say pro-life. Abortion's wrong, right? But there's two sides to it.
Right.
What if use yourself. What if you were molested by somebody?
Huge.
By a random person in the parking lot? You're not going to want to keep that baby.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Yeah.
You're not. But
stop.
I'm still pro-life. But I'm saying this. I believe that woman who is attacked and molested needs to get in some counseling. I believe that people need to walk alongside her and help her through that trauma and hold her hand during that process. That's what I believe. So I don't ever want her to be forgotten about because somebody like me is pro-life. Because there's two sides to it. Even though I don't agree with the abortion, I hate the fact that she was molested. And honestly, God doesn't like the fact that she was molested either.
Facts.
So that's where I stand on the issue.
So let's start there then, because See, this is where I kind of get into the weeds, especially for those who are kind of pro-life. Because I don't think you're pro-life. I think you're, and I'm going to be generalizing here, the kind of pro-lifers. So we're going to get into like you specifically. But in terms of the topic, I feel like most people are pro-birth, right? Like
you're right about that. You're absolutely right.
Like
especially with black people, they're black kids. You're pro-birth until the kid's born.
And then that's all
you forget about them.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, so I think it's. I don't think it's a distance from the mother. I think it's a distance from like, hey, look, we don't want to kill or slaughter anything, but obviously you have to step into the table to take and raise and develop that person all the way up until they're 18, if not if not longer.
Yes.
So like I just see that I don't think it's the government's position to jump into something.
Okay, I can see that perspective
after a certain point, because look, the way my perspective is that you have let's say you have I don't know, a grandpa or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's laying on the table, brain dead, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's alive, right? You sitting there, it's connected. We can keep the body alive, but there's no brain activity. There's nothing going on, right? But at some point, you recognize that, like, well, this is no life for someone just to sit there and lay there on the table. Their hearts are beating, but their person is not genuinely there. So
not active. They're just laying there.
So then, are you okay with this? Hey, okay, let's unplug it. Let's just like it is what it is, or just continually keep that alive for?
Ooh, that's tough. I've never thought about that. Somebody laying. I had a homie like that who passed away in 2011. He was I had a homie, and they ended up pulling the plug. Yeah, as far as for me, that's tough. But I would say, honestly, I'm not going to try to play God, and I'm not God. I believe God is in charge of life and death. So if that were me, I'd probably leave him there, because I don't want to get into playing God. And, hey, pull the plug, and then they're gone. But I don't want that on my conscience, at least.
But you believe in medicine. And that's, in a way, that's like, you took an aspirin, you intervened. Like, in some way, shape, or form that you there's some sense of intervention that you think is okay.
Medicine is not the same as pulling the plug. What are you talking about?
If someone's CPR, laying there just drowned, you pull them out. Your kid, the God, hey, we can't intervene. God said, like, you don't know. You're gonna go and save that.
But you're bringing them back to life.
Yes, of course.
That's different. They're dying and they're underwater drowning, and you give them CPR to bring them back to life.
You're intervening on what God has essentially intended. There's a sense of if and again, I think that, and again, for me, I believe you should save that. Yeah, you should save that life, right? Right. You should do everything possible to get that person to where they want to be, right? So that they can continue life and continue living.
Would you pull the plug on your wife?
So
right in the field.
Let me give you where I stand.
No, I want you to answer that.
No, wait. Okay, I'll answer. Okay, straight up. Okay, the same situation I just laid out earlier. Yep. Yeah, I would pull it. Okay. I would pull it because I don't want my wife to sit there and I don't want her to live that life.
That's another perspective I didn't think about.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to. I just don't think that.
I see that.
I don't know about her dignity, but I think, and this is something I would love to go in deep with my wife to understand, like what type of, because that's where I think
what she would want.
Yeah, I would see the will. Like, okay, look, where's the will at?
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
I just want to challenge you on that real quick.
I feel it. I respect it. But let me give you a perspective. So I had a cousin. Mm-hmm. His name was Lamar. He was like to put it to there's I cannot even express into words how much he meant to me. Like when, he was a part of our family, and essentially my grandmother was big into adoption, so she would always take care of people, right? So Lamar ended up landing into his house, young dude, really super outgoing, very composed. To be honest with me, he reminds me a lot of you. Okay. And a sense of just like, he has sense of determination. He doesn't come from like the greatest background. He has a little, different side to him. Mm-hmm. But he taught me one of the funnest things is I stayed a night at my grandma's house because my parents were doing something. And they're like, yeah, you're gonna chill here. And Lamar was chilling there. He's like, hey man, you come inside. So okay, man. So he's a little older than me, like 3 years, 3 years older. And he's like, yeah, check this out. So he shows me Grand Theft Auto, and I'm like, GTA. The first time I ever had it. First time
Vice
ever.
City?
Yo, it was amazing, dude. This is the first time seeing people. I think it was Vice City or Grand Theft Auto like 3. It was definitely a little bit older.
It had to be 3 or Vice City.
Yeah, dude, it was amazing. So he was running over people, getting points. I was like, oh my god! I was like, this is crazy. Shooting people. I was like, this is the first time ever. But he made some sense from it. He's like, hey, look, this is this isn't real, right? You know what I'm saying? This is not a part of this world, and he's just kind of trying to mentor the mentality that I had. Like, this is a game, right?
It's a game.
You understand? You're playing the game, right? So don't get too attached to what's going on here.
Okay.
You just have fun. This is something that we can do and have fun. And it really made a sense to me. It's like, okay, like that's the first kind of sense of a young guy mentoring me. It's in that time. Long story short, we get much older, maybe 4 or 5 years later. And we distancing apart, and he's not living with my grandmother anymore. He's not back at home, and he gets this like bee sting or like a mosquito bite or something, but he has a huge reaction to it.
Okay.
And he starts begging his mom, like, "Hey, I don't feel well. Like, I don't feel good, right?" And he starts swelling up, and his mom's like, "You're fine. Just sleep it off, right?" And he's like, "Okay." Keeps getting worse, right? He can barely breathe. He's like coughing up fluid. And he's like, "Yo, mom, I don't feel good. Like, I want to go to the hospital." Like, "No, you're fine." And at some point, he goes unconscious. His mother, finds him and rushes him to the hospital. And he goes to the hospital, and he's laying there on the table, and they're telling him, because this is how hospitals have to do it, do you have insurance? And they're like, no. So, like, you're going to have to pay for him. She's like, I'm not paying. And she reaches down and pulls the plug.
No way.
And
was he brain dead?
No, he could barely breathe because because the fluid, and he just has to go run his system, and so he goes into shock, I believe, and
he passed away.
He passed away, yeah.
Okay, that's crazy though, man.
The reason I bring this up is because I think that like if I mean financial things is a big factor for people, right? To go and ruin for someone's life, right? But I have to ask myself, right? Do I rather that mother, right, to have him and live this life, or would I rather her be able to have the decision to be like, look, we're not doing it, right? Like I would rather Lamar, even the instance of me meeting him and being, and obviously him changing my life in some sort of shape or form. I don't think that it would be. I just think that's that's a horrible life to live. I think that at some point you kind of have to just I'd rather give the mother the decision, the option to say, hey, look, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to go too far in. At some point I got to recognize that, like, I'm not responsible.
How long was he unconscious for? If you're talking about a day or something, then she's out of whack.
I don't know. I just listen. We were at a rave when I found out. I talked to one. I know it sounds crazy, but this was much older because I was like not even a year ago. And I'm talking to my friend. I'm talking to my one of my cousins, and we were just talking. I was like, hey man, and he was like, you remember Lamar? I was like, yeah, I remember. Like, oh my god, yeah. And he was just like, yo man, did you hear what happened? I was like, no, he got a bee sting, he got an infection. We didn't get it to him in time, and he passed away from it. He's like, no. That's not what happened. I was like, what do you mean that's not what happened? And he explained to me what happened. And he's like, yeah, no, they pulled the plug on him. And I called my mom. I'm literally music blaring. I'll call my mom like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how no one told me this, right? But I'm just saying that, like, again, I bring this up because, like, you have these scenarios. So if you get to decide about what someone, if they live or die, and I think that it's a huge responsibility. But I do think the government should be involved. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. Mm-hmm. Because you just can't be like cutting off, these they look like babies, like, we embryos, I could say that, right? They look like they're humans, but they look like babies. But at some point in time, like, if they don't have a conscious mind anymore, if there's no thought there's no brain waves going on, I just don't think that is, I just don't think there's enough. I don't think there's a loss involved, right? I don't think there's like I don't think there's, and even if they don't feel. Because then we can get into the whole cattle thing, right? Like, you eat animals, and if you eat animals, it's the same, But I don't know. That's where my head is at. Yeah. 20 to 24 weeks. That's when they start getting a mind, and they start remembering things and understanding things, and that's what I think gives makes a baby. That's what makes humans human, right? Is the fact that we have a brain that can start learning music and getting to understand things, and I feel like until that point, the mother should have the option to be able to decide if they want to have a baby or not.
Yeah, I think just like what I stand on is like, I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. And I know it sounds like cliche and basic, but I go off that. I don't think that babies should be murdered. And I don't think that they should be, as soon as they get out the womb, forgotten about, like what we talked about. So I think, like I said, I don't like how, my wife worked at a clinic in La Puente, convincing girls to keep their babies. And they convinced a lot of girls to keep their babies. and how they had so many different resources for them after they had the baby, and they did a great job at that. Girls who came from treacherous situations. So my wife walking through that, she was like, it was so impactful to work there and tell them that their kid mattered. And some of these kids are 3 and 4 years old now. But like I said, there's two sides to it. It's not just, oh, pro-life. It's pro-life, and that woman matters. I believe that woman needs to be hugged and comforted every day because of her situation. And I pray that she has a community of people around her who can love her and build her up because she was molested in the parking lot.
So what comes first?
What do you mean what comes first?
Do you create more resources for women to be able to have
resource, definitely.
Or do you block them to be able to have abortions?
No, I think more resources first. Because we're all going to go through stuff in life, but I think what gets people is what sends people down the wrong path is nobody was there to comfort them. So we're all going to go through stuff. What if everybody knew that when they went through stuff, they had a community of people waiting at the end of the door saying, hey, we got you. I think people would face their trauma more. But if you go through something and nobody's there and you have to face it all by yourself, that creates monsters. So I think people need a community around them. What if you knew that going in? You knew as a kid, no matter what I go through, there's people at the end of the tunnel who love me forever, and they're here. These same 5 people, this community is going to always build me up whenever I go through something. How would our brains change then?
You're right. All right, so let me ask you this then. You have I think there's 4 pillars to a society, right?
Okay.
You have government.
Okay.
You have the people.
Okay.
You have businesses, and you have church.
Yep.
And I think that that's the job of the church. I don't think government needs to be so involved into the life of the people.
Okay.
In some way, shape, or form, you have the separation between church and state, but you also have the government's job to protect life, liberty, and property.
Yep.
And so when does something become a life is a struggle because, a plan is a life. Like at the end of the day, government, it's of course you want to protect things, but at some rate or form, people should have the autonomy to kind of make the decisions that's best suited for them. Mm-hmm. For someone else to make a decision for you is really dangerous. Now, letting the states decide that, sure, I think that's fine. But I think that one thing that
people make decisions for you all the time. You stop at a stop sign.
Sure, but I think that there's.
What do you mean? Sure, you do.
I do, but
you stop at a red light. The government made that decision.
I'm not denying.
You don't get in the carpool lane without somebody in the car. Most of the time, I told you I do. I don't care, but so you let them make decisions for you all the time.
Not let. I think that there's a choice.
No, you do let them.
Hold on.
Because you listen to them. You pay your taxes.
So I don't know. Do you know a social contract?
If we're from New York, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about, man?
No, look. So you don't have you living. It depends where you live, right? That's a big avenue here. Like, where do you freaking live?
I can agree with that.
In this land, you have these. We have different states that have different rules and regulations and how you choose to. What's going on with your life, right? Mm-hmm. But federally, it's different from the state, right? Like, because the state choosing, hey, look, this is what I can do. All right, that's the people. I move to a different state. If I don't like California, I move to a different state.
Yeah, like a lot of people from Cali move to Texas.
But federally, it's a big different thing, right? Federally mandating something, actions, whatever the case may be, is a whole different animal because there's no escape unless you want to go and transplant to a whole different area. But brings me back to what I was saying earlier. Money is such a big resource that the mother of a son pulled the plug on him because of just finances alone. Like, it's just, you have these resources that are not being given or they're not really known about. Mm-hmm. And all these taxes and stuff are taken from people.
But I'll be honest. I think when we abort babies, I think we get judged. I think God judges us. I'm talking about America.
I give you fact. I will.
I think we are judged when we murder babies.
I agree with that.
And that's a whole nother topic. But I think God judges us when we do that.
I agree with that.
And I'm not talking about God can judge me. I'm talking about specific things happen in our country, and it's a judgment because we're not taking care of this area right here. I think God does that.
God judges the country?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think when we abort over millions of babies, I think there's a judgment from God. That's what I believe. I think there's a judgment when you do certain things. Just how the Bible talks about homosexuality. And you'll pay the cost. You'll pay the penalty. And some scholars revert that to AIDS.
Okay, then I have to push back here, dude.
Go ahead.
Like, the separation between church and state. You can't. You just. There's right and wrongs, right? But to go and say, hey, look, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's just. And someone else obviously telling you can't do something. It's rough. It's really, really rough. It's rough to kind of see.
Okay, so I'll give you an example then. You're saying it's rough when somebody tells you can't do something, right? My mom had to use the bathroom, and my dad was standing in front of the bathroom, and a transgender tried to walk in while my mom used the bathroom. My dad said, you're not going in there. Why? He said, you're not going in there because my wife is in there. So my dad was telling him essentially, you're not doing that. So I'm saying what you're saying. He didn't feel comfortable with my mother, his wife, in the bathroom with a dude.
Okay, so you think so?
But the guy is like, oh, but I want to go in. No, you're not going in there with my wife.
I agree. I don't think that's. I don't think. I don't.
If you had a daughter and you were waiting outside to use the bathroom and your wife wasn't there, and a transgender person walked into that bathroom, would you be comfortable?
So are you?
No. Yes or no? Come on, we're talking about hot topics. Yes or no?
No, I would not feel.
Okay, then.
I'm not. I don't agree with this though. I don't agree with this heavy.
But you wouldn't feel comfortable if your baby girl was in there.
I mean, but again, that's where we come to like the separation between church and state. Mm-hmm. That's nothing has to do with church though. Mm-hmm. That's just about genetics and gender. Like homosexuality and gender is a whole different animal here. Okay, gay rights and stuff. All right, let people get married. Let people gay rights. Let them do what they're gonna do. God's gonna make the judgment. It's not my job to do. Right. But when you talking about like gender, that's a little bit different because now you're talking about people saying that there's something but they're not. And not the fact that...
Do you believe there's more than two genders?
No. There's
so
only
you
two
believe
genders.
You believe you're a man or a woman?
Yes.
Not non-binary?
No.
Or any of that stuff?
No.
Why?
Because there's a man and a woman. That's the way it's been all of time, right? Yeah. Now, let me. Okay, I believe that men, right, can want to be women, right? Right. You're a man who wants to be a woman.
Yeah.
I believe that a baby coming out, right, and you're let's say you have the genes of a man, but you have the genitals of sometimes these get mixed up. Yeah. I think there's actual trans people, right? Hey,
about born with two parts?
Yeah, born with because that happens.
It's funny. That's a subject I think about, but I don't know too much about it. Honestly. So I thought about that. Though.
The thing is, what's going on, and this is really tough. And I listen. I don't have much of a say in this world because I'm not from it. But the tough part is that the lesbian and gay community, right? That was what the fight was for, right? So, right, and then it became kind of like the lesbian, gay, and trans was kind of adopted into that world. And they're like, you know what? I don't know. That feels less about who do I love and more about who do I want to kind of be per se, like what way I want people to perceive me. And so from what I was told and for what it looks like to me is that at that point when that kind of the lesbian, gay, trans, and then the kind of the rest of this started coming where now you have asexuals and you have pansexuals and you have you have all these type of individuals and the way they see they want to be a part of a group. There's no real group or place they can go, so they kind of just attach themselves to the lesbian and gay community. But a lot of these lesbian gay community are thinking like, yo, this is getting out of control, right?
Yep.
Like I know that I'm a man, but I know I like men, right? In a way, right? But you know what I'm saying? Right. So if I'm a man who likes another man, right? I know that I'm supposed to go to the man's bathroom, right? If I'm a man who wants to be a woman, I know that I'm a man who wants to be a woman, and I understand that there's something wrong here. Like I understand that I'm a man, but for someone to say that like I'm a man and you need to treat me like a woman, I am a woman, right? But like no, but you're a man. No, I'm a woman. It's like okay, but you're not. You're a man. It's really tough for people to be able to really get the grasp and understand what that feels like to be able to say, okay, I'm in this lane. I don't think they should be abused. I don't think they should be, I don't think anything like that should happen. But I just think
I have a question for you. Yeah, because I've lived with roommates who struggle with their sexuality, and I've heard tons of stories, and I find mostly one common denominator between them. Something happened, and that changed them. So I'll give you an example. There's a story that I heard literally about 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
The student told his professor, he knew she was a Christian. He said, I don't want to be gay. I didn't want to be like this. He said, my mom lost their daughter, so his older sister, like she passed away. And then she had me, and she made me play with Barbie dolls. She made me wear girl clothes. He said, but I don't want to be this way. My mom made me do this for years. He said, and it changed my thinking. But he said, I don't want to be this way. I think there's a real struggle inside that when people who struggle with their sexuality, when they go home at night, there's no peace. But I think a situation happened to them and it changed their thinking. I had a roommate who cross-dressed and something happened to him and that changed his thinking. Most of the time, at least from the people that I've talked to about this, they've been molested or raped. I heard of another story one time. My big cousin, his church is right down the street from here. He asked the dude, hey, why do you cross-dress? He said, my dad does it and my grandpa does it. It's all I know. So I think situations happen, and I think demons attach to you, and it changes your sexuality. That's what I've noticed when I talk to people who struggle with their sexuality. They've been molested or raped by a man or by a woman, and then it changes their thinking.
So you think it's more of a mental health thing?
Yep, and watch this. This will blow your mind. My dad preached a message on the food that we eat from now versus the food we ate from the 1950s and why a lot of people struggle with their sexuality. So there's something in the mother's womb that if the mom doesn't eat right, if you come out a woman, right? Say you have a girl in your womb, and if you eat wrong McDonald's every day, the baby will be sprayed with, I think it's at week 4 or 5, the baby will be sprayed with more testosterone, when the baby should be getting 80% estrogen and 20% testosterone. Same for a guy. If the woman is pregnant and has a boy, if you eat wrong, the boy could be accidentally sprayed with 80% estrogen and 20% testosterone when it should be the opposite, which causes kids to come out and struggle with their sexuality. My dad did the research on this, dude. It is deep.
I think it's accurate. I think
deep, bro.
I think a lot happens, especially when the early development of a child, especially for women and what they consume and what they do. You know, abnormalities is true. I remember one of my friends smoked weed during her pregnancy, and that changed the dynamic that since he had early birth.
Wow.
Because of the because chemicals are going to hit,
Yeah.
And yes, it's kind of the earth, and the earth is, but the thing that happens is that, like, again, it's kind of that intervention aspect, right? Like you're changing the chemicals of something as they're growing. I
want to tell you one more story too.
No, shoot.
I had a boy, I'm not going to say his name. He's very successful. I did Bible studies my first year in college with him, and I knew he was gay. Right, I can just tell by how he carried himself. But when he hung around me and when he came to my Bible studies, he was less flamboyant. That's a fact. I'm talking over the course of 1 year. He hung around me and not just trying to act like a man, but he became more manly once we really started going through and studying the Bible. I'm not exaggerating. And he was less flamboyant over time. Over the course of about a year. And he became more manly. So I think something happened. Like, people can say what they want about the Bible, but him reading that changed him inside. And then he stopped, and guess what? Flamboyant came right back.
I think I agree. I think, though, that I
that's all I'm saying. That's what I experienced. I saw him go from like this, to he started carrying himself like a man. He carried himself like a man. So that's why I believe that it really is a demonic attack. I believe the devil has 50 million demons who all have specific jobs that do something. That's what I believe.
So then I'm gonna put some logic to it.
Go ahead.
I think that that's not untrue. I just think that you have to really think about like is this an actual attempt of the devil trying to attack people?
Well, yeah, that's his only job. What is his job?
Or is it more that it's a systematic algorithm that's pushing what people want to see? If I'm someone and I'm a kid, right, and my mom wakes me up and says, oh, man, we got to go to school, and I don't want to go to school, I don't want to do anything, right? But I'm like, I'm busy, I got things to do. Yeah. Here's a tablet. Go on YouTube. I got to go handle something. So the kid's on YouTube, and he's like, well, I want to watch this. And so the algorithm is taking him to these dark, you know what I'm talking about, dark webs and stuff. And then he finds something like, oh, I can connect with that. And then he keeps liking it. keeps going down this tunnel of gay this and gay that. Oh, I like this show. I like this thing. And, gives sense a different perspective for people, right? So what I think that it's happening is that
I think it's
people
both.
are able to connect with the things that they want to see.
Yep.
Kids are able to, at a young age, adapt to things as they want to see it.
Yeah.
And the more and more the communities of anything comes out, right? If I'm a person, I have a guy I just messaged today, a gentleman I was trying to get on the podcast. He's really into horror. He wears like bloody, like just absolutely like acts and stuff. But all his pictures on Facebook are just bloody and just all, right? But it's really cool. It's like interesting. This gentleman, how did you become this person, right?
Yeah.
But he found his community. If you look, none of the people live next to him. None of his neighbors do this. But he can find hundreds of thousands of people who who like what he likes, and he can go down that tunnel and feel like he's accepted and he finds his community. I think that's what's happening. Kids are in a traumatic state, and they just want to find their community.
But watch this. You can't have good without evil, right? You have good days, you have bad days.
True.
So there's a lot of good in the world. Vice versa means there's a lot of evil in the world. So you can't say there's a lot of good going on without there being evil, which means there has to be a God and there has to be a devil. And if there is a devil, the devil has a job. Okay, I have an idea. Who made this iPhone?
Steve Jobs.
Okay, who made this chair?
Wayfair.
Who made the camera that we're on live right now?
Sony.
Who made you?
My mom, my dad.
No. Who made you?
You're talking about the actual OG. Okay, Google. I mean,
No.
Okay.
Who made you? Your great grandpappy. Who made your great grandpappy?
God.
Okay. So with that being said, everything has a creator, right? The iPhone didn't pop up out of nowhere, which means if there is a God, that means there has to be an opposite, which is the devil. And if the devil is real, why wouldn't the devil be strategic and try to bring communities down and break people apart and just tell them the opposite? And have demons who have specific jobs that attack people that do specific things. So if you lie, why not have a lying demon that attaches to you? If you struggle with pornography and you watch it all day, every day, why not have a perverse spirit that can attach to you? If you're chronically sick, I'm not talking about a cold, but you have cancer that keeps coming back continuously after you've been through chemotherapy, why not have a spirit of infirmity jump on you? That's all I'm saying.
I'm not saying that.
The devil's not just sitting. I'm pretty sure he has a team that attacks people, and these demons do specific jobs.
I'm not dissing that. I'm not dissing that. I'm just saying that, like, I just think that it's, it's not. I don't think it's as. I'm not saying that that's not wrong in some circumstances, but I just don't think it's that deep in most. I just don't think it's that intense in most circumstances of why these things are happening. I think that it's just people are wanting to find what they want to see, and as people find what they want to see, they get sucked. It's like you are who you surround yourself with. It's a full stop.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. If you surround yourself with people who sin, right, then you'll become a sinner. Just the more and more and adopt into the sinner life, and you will go and it'll be harder and harder to dig yourself out. I think that's just now. If it's the work of the devil, I don't think that's something to contest. But I don't think it's that it's as a out of I don't want to say out of control, but yeah, I want to say that theological, like, hey, this is why things are happening to people. I think it's just small decisions that your people are making with the people that they're surrounding themselves with. If you choose the right people around you,
I think it's a combination of things.
I think that may be fair.
But at least what I noticed, my roommates who struggle with their sexuality, and we were really cool. Like, we were homies. I'm not gonna say his name, but like I said, I see him go from being a straight hood black dude to wearing a wig, and in that process, he wasn't happy. No cap. And then the next year, I had another roommate who struggled with his sexuality. So people can say all they want, but I've lived with them firsthand, and they weren't happy at all transitioning. I think it's cap. Big cap when people are like, I'm happy that I'm trans. I don't believe it because I live with them. These are two different people. I've been around them, and they're not happy with that because I think there's a void inside of them because I think inside, say you're a man, but you want to get a sex change, right? Or you're a woman and vice versa. I think your soul is struggling because you're a boy and then you're changing yourself, your body, wanting to be a girl. And I think there's a pull and a struggle inside. That's what I noticed with my roommates. There was a literal pull because they're a boy and he's trying to dress and be a woman. And I saw that struggle day in and day out with him. I can see it on his face. Like he didn't want to put on the wig. but he was putting on the wig, and there wasn't any real happiness.
Like I said, I think there's some truth to it. In every circumstance, I don't know. I don't think that every single person out there is like, hey, I don't want to do this, but I think a majority are. I think it is a mental health issue. I agree. I think a lot of things that people do are a struggle as a mental health issue.